I would like to ask you really quickly about like the prospects for the future of these relationships, and more specifically about if there are like in your imagination, are there any conditions under which you think the Zhongnanhai would accept the Republic of China as an independent state, and if so, what would those conditions be?
I want to tell you the first sentence in my answer to your question is never say never. In the 3,000 years in China, there were periods of time when China itself was divided into 7 nations in Chunqiu Zhanguo period. That's maybe a couple of hundred years BC, okay? And then into 3 nations after Han Dynasty, around Christ's time, a little bit before, a little bit after Jesus Christ's time. 3 nations. And then a little bit later, China itself was again, and then it went unified. And then it went, separated. Much later than, Jesus' time, it was divided into 10 countries, not 7, not 3, 10 countries. So it happened in Chinese history, like it happened in Europe, right? Unify, split, unify, split. So in Chinese language, there is a saying that says, the world would unify if it stays split long enough. The world will split if it stays unified long enough. Based on that universal law of physics, anything can happen.
There are extensive economic contacts between Republic of China and People's Republic of China, and I want to know if there are concerns in Taiwan that through investments and other contacts that technology will come into the knowledge of the Chinese, being to the disadvantage of Taiwan, since that is of concern in economic relations between countries that are on somewhat equal levels. And secondly, since Taiwan is recognized by only 20 countries now, which is the lowest number ever, I wonder what impact that has in terms of pursuing trade as well as other contacts which are necessary for Taiwan being an open economy, basing its development upon contacts with the outside world.
There's so much investment in China by the billions in terms of dollar, by the hundreds of thousands in terms of companies from Taiwan, that do we care? Are we concerned that our high tech, our intellectual property may be infringed? Yes, we do care. Because one thing that mainland China is very strong, and we encourage them to do better, is intellectual property protection. It's not just felt by Taiwanese businessmen. It's felt all over the world. Swedish business, American business. We don't necessarily all like Donald Trump, but he's concerned that the American intellectual property is getting infringed, stolen by mainland China. And it's happening right in front of us every day. China is stealing everybody's intellectual property, and they're not willing to protect them. And so it's a love-hate relationship between the world and China, not just between Taiwan and China. Love because we want them to change. Love that we cannot bear to see Chinese people suffer if they're not living well, if they're not enjoying the kind of life we do. So we want them to enjoy good life. So develop, open up, do trade. But in the same time, when they develop economically, we hope that they can change politically or in terms of intellectual property protection, that they'll become more up to par with international standard. But that's not happening, unfortunately. And we fear too. We fear that. And what the Chinese is doing is that they attract and they give some good incentives to Taiwanese investors in the beginning years, And then gradually they tighten up the regulations. They say, oh, land cost is rising, labor cost is rising, now we have labor law, and you have to move inland. In the beginning, they welcome Taiwanese investors on the coastline. So once the coastal cities are developed, they say, move inward. They want the Taiwanese business to go inland. Okay? Well, but then businessmen have no borderline, you know. Businessmen know no borderline. As long as they can make money, they go. That's the pity. However, sometimes they carry a good purpose. They are helping the Chinese to change. And we hope they can change the Chinese instead of getting changed by the Chinese government. A lot of the Taiwanese investors are getting changed by the Chinese government. And that's not what we want to see happen. Okay, now, in terms of intellectual property, in terms of recognition by only 20 countries in the world, and are we concerned, do we fear that it will be tougher and tougher for Taiwan to do business with countries in the world? Luckily, politics and economy operate in different ways. We must agree that with politics, there is United Nations, but with trade, there is WTO. WTO doesn't belong to United Nations. So when we want to do trade, we go to WTO. We go to APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, a forum that promotes trade among the Asia Pacific countries. So in those areas, Taiwan is still able to carry on free trade, traded with most countries in the world.
Taiwan is accumulating a lot of soft power, and China is also trying to do that now, especially in Africa, for example, or in the Syria conflict. But China also, as mainland China, has a lot of hard power as well that Taiwan does not possess. And how is that troubling for the Taiwanese government, or does that affect the way they look on what could happen in the future potentially?
China knows how to use soft power, and they deserve to do that. They have so much good soft power. Shame on them if they don't do that, because they have all the history of China, all the good historic relics, but they're not doing enough. But they're using their soft power in a what funny way? What funny way? Let me give you one example. Confucius School. The world is now awakening to the Confucius School. Mao Zedong wanted Confucius to go down history. He didn't want to have anything to do with Confucius, right? But then they used the name Confucius, only the name. But in reality, they give fund, they control curriculum, they control the way you conduct Confucius School, that so much so that USA took the lead. Many countries follow suit. They don't want that. They realize that it is a kind of cultural invasion. They don't allow you to have your way of doing Confucius School. That's just one example. So they fail in that area in terms of soft power. Hard power, they have money. I just said that they're so poor, they only have money. They have mountains, tons of money. So they are doing one belt, one road system in the world. Mind you, smaller countries welcome, embrace the one belt, one road system. Big countries, including Sweden, is more alert. They don't want to fall into the trap. What trap? They give you white elephant and they take your resources. White elephant in smaller countries, hey, I'm going to build you a big stadium. I'm going to build you a railroad. I'm going to build you a highway. When they do that, they bring in their workers, their material, their food. So the local country never get to make even $1 out of that project. Never get employed building their own road or stadium. Never even get to sell a plate of food to their workers. So at the end of the day, they hand you this road that you have to maintain, this stadium that you have to maintain. Maintenance is more important, more expensive than building. You know that. In 20 years, maintenance it would cost more. So they do that in the world. South African countries, Caribbean countries, South Pacific countries, Everywhere they do that. Now they're going to do that in the world. One belt, one road system. Okay? So smart countries, big countries, they study and analyze and say, hey, wait, if you're not transparent enough, we're not going to accept that. Okay? So that's the kind of power. When it comes to sharp power, that's even worse. Sharp power means using internet technology to interfere, including Russia. Okay, interfere into your election, interfere into your daily life. Well, if you are a people from Xinjiang, China, it would be very sad because they use big data and know every member of Xinjiang in every move, every day, 24 hours. It's like everybody is naked moving around in Xinjiang in the eyes of the Chinese government. You don't want to be like that. Not here in Sweden, not in Taiwan. We don't want that, and that's sharp power.
Now the Xi Jinping will remain in power for a longer period of time, maybe 10, 20 years, and is a much tougher person than Hu Jintao. So what do you think will be the relation between Taiwan and mainland?
Xi Jinping became the unlimited leader of China. Would it be harder for Taiwan? You know, softer and harder at the same time. Softer, he would use civilian incentives. China recently gave 31 items incentive to welcome Taiwan's service industry, movie, literature, what we did not sign in 2015, the trade in service agreement, what we did not sign, they want to unilaterally open it to welcome Taiwan's service industry to China. But it's only by the mouth. Our people already sense that, they only want our talents to go to Taiwan because they can pay more. They have higher salary. Okay? But it may not be true. It's too good to be true. We start to feel that way. Some of our members are starting to go over to see if they can really, get benefit from that 31 item incentive policy. That's the one hand, treating Taiwan softer. The other hand is to tighten Taiwan even tighter, stronger in international participation. As I said, whereas we could participate in WHA, in ICAO 2 years ago, no more. Even named, they don't even allow us to use Republic of China, or simply Taiwan. They don't like that either. They want to use to be Taiwan, province of China. And don't let our friends in the world fall into that trap. Because if they succeed in that, Taiwan would really be choked. And we don't want to see that. Because I told you, I shared with you the significance of keeping Taiwan there, why Taiwan matters.